Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Bold Unstoppable Show. Tonight, we are talking about women and wealth, building financial freedom. And so, as they say, money talks, right? And it's time for women to start leading the conversation, particularly when it comes to financial literacy and about knowing that financial literacy is more than balance in a checkbook. It's about creating financial freedom, security, and generational wealth. And that is what I'm all about. I am Dr. Rochel Murphy Lawson, known as the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. And I have three very distinguished ladies with me today. And so we're going to let the ladies introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into our dialogue about this wonderful topic as it relates to women. So first of all, Coach Shauntel.
Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Rochel, for creating this platform. I'm from San Francisco, California, and here I am the CEO and founder of Wishing You Well in Life. I serve as an author, a global leadership speaker, and an executive and corporate coach. Thank you.
Oh, welcome to the show, Shauntel, Coach Shauntel. All right. And we have next Robin Denise Harris.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Rochel. My name is Robin Denise Harris. I am in Central Florida, where it is actually chilly today. It is not sunny. It's chilly. And I am I'm an educator with social studies and history, a tour guide and public speaker, and embarking on some new ideas as well. And I'm just really glad to be here with all of you.
Well, welcome to the show, Robin. Is it Robin Denise or Robin?
Well, oddly enough, my family, the older family members of my family, they do call me Robin Denise, but most times it's just Robin.
Which do you prefer?
Robin is fine. Whatever you say, it's fine.
Because my name actually is Rochel Marie. That's my first name. So I just want to make sure I say people's names right, because it's the most important thing we hear, right, is our name. All right, Kelle Sparta, tell us where you're at, because this is going to be a shocker.
Well, thank you for having me. And so I am actually calling in from Boquete, Panama, and moved here a couple of years ago as part of our, get better, be on vacation on a daily basis, right? And so I am a transformational shaman and a spiritual coach, and I work with spiritual business owners to help them to up-level their lives and find their financial freedom. And so I am excited to have this conversation today.
Well, me and all my personalities that you can't see. I'm very happy to have you ladies with us today. I think for me, this is a very important topic, and I don't think we discuss it much in the arena of this, in the context of women educating other young women as they're coming up. And so this is very important because no longer are we able to depend on back in the day, a few generations ago, where the wives didn't work and they were dependent on their husband's pension or whatever it was to get them through as they age. And a lot of people suffered when the families broke up and the woman was left on her own to figure it out, and she hadn't worked. And so it became a really difficult struggle to obtain not only financial literacy, but to just stay ahead. So today I want to ask you ladies this first question. What does financial freedom mean to you? And so Coach Shauntel, why don't you tell us what financial freedom means to you?
Financial freedom to me, it means about me being the first to have that financial freedom. My family, we did not come from generational wealth. So right now, that is what I am creating for my family. I will be that first one to create that. That is my sole mission. So when you talk about financial freedom, I feel a little bit of pressure, but then I get excited about it because I am embarking on a path that now my legacy, my nieces, my nephew, and my future children, they'll be able to walk down that path comfortably. So financial freedom, especially living here in San Francisco, where it is the most expensivest, I really have the opportunity here as well too. With the job markets, we are used to paying a lot of money. So a lot of myths about women having that that financial freedom, I'm able to debunk those myths right away. We do have a lot of women that are CEOs and that are powerful figures. So when I think about that, it gives me a little bit of uncomfortableness just because it's not something that I've come from, but then I do really get excited about it and I do challenge the status quo.
I love it. I love it. Robin, what are your thoughts about what does financial freedom mean to you?
Sure. And I like to connect with Kelle as well, and even echo Coach Shauntel. But for me, financial freedom, it's going to start with knowing that we can be free to be financially stable and able. Because for many of us, like myself, grew up in the church, and so those were those myths around what it meant to have money or not to have money. Is it godly to have money or is it not? And so a lot of us grew up in that atmosphere where it was like struggling was godly. And, and then moving forward, sometimes to not struggle meant that God was with you. And if you were struggling, it was the reverse. So taking that trauma away and allowing women to know and our generations to know it's okay to make six figures. You're not anything less if you do or whatever your financial status may be, but it is okay to be financially free.
I love it. Okay, we're going to come back in just a few moments. We have to take a break, but we'll be back with you in just a few moments. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable Show. I'm Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, and we are talking about financial literacy, financial freedom for women. So, Kelle, I want to ask you, what does financial freedom mean to you?
Well, it's very interesting that you asked me this question because for many, many years, what financial freedom was defined by, because I always feel like if you're going to have a goal, you need to know when you reach it, right? And so for me, financial freedom was owning my own hot tub. And the reason that was financial freedom to me was because it meant I owned a house and I had the disposable income to spend 10 grand on a hot tub and have it not be a problem. Right? Because I would never do that unless all my bills were paid and everything was good. Right. And so we bought our hot tub in Richmond before we moved here. Now we did leave it behind, but, for many years, that was my definition is when I got the hot tub, I was financially free. Right. And so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it's beautiful because three different people have a different version of what financial freedom means to them. And I think that goes across the board when it comes to women, depending on where you're from, where you are and where you strive to be. So and plus, just what was shared with you growing up about financial freedom or financial literacy, basically, and what was like taboo, don't talk to me or don't ask me about it. So my next question, ladies, is, why do you all think financial literacy is critical for women, particularly in this day and age? And we'll start with you, Robin. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, for Black women, we have been in this disparity for so long. I was looking at some numbers today before, and Black women have always seemed to have a back seat. Even though we've done most of the work, we have taken that back seat around financial gain. And so it means for me is that, again, like we talked about earlier, freeing our minds, freeing ourselves to know that it's okay and that we have a right to be financially free and stable and to acquire not only the things that we need, but it's okay to, as Kelle said, is to get a hot tub and we feel okay around that.
I got it. Yeah. Kelle, I want to ask you the same question with regards to our discussion. Why is it critical for women to learn about financial literacy, particularly in this day and age?
Well, I think, the world is a very different place than when my grandmother was around, right? And, and even so, my grandmother got divorced when my mother was 16 and she had to make her own way in the world. And she managed to work her way up into a vice presidency of a construction company. And, she kicked ass and took names, right? but my mom was a single mom, and I we are all, and so my mom was a single mom. My husband is a house husband. So I'm the breadwinner for the family, right? And so I've got to retire him when we move down here. And so, it is a different world. We are in a different world, and women are responsible for our own outcomes. And we should not be handing over that power to our partner. And that's the biggest reason to learn about finances. If you're not educated about them, if you don't have literacy, you don't know how to make good decisions. I sat down with ChatGPT over the weekend to write my 5-year plan. And it said, well, what kind of investments do you like? Because one of my things was, building up the investment portfolio. And I started making a list. And then I went and asked my husband, I'm like, what kind of investments do you want to do? And his thing was all about ethical investing and things like that. And then I asked ChatGPT, what are things that I might not know about that would be better returns than this? And, but I've taken a ton of classes on financial stuff over the years. I mean, I was a bookkeeper. I've done classes on stocks and bonds and different types of investment portfolios. I was in real estate. And so I did a lot of information around real estate investing and things like that. So, but, I spend a lot of time educating myself on the subject, because when you have power within something, so when we don't have education, we feel disempowered.
Right.
We can feel victimized. And when we feel victimized, then we don't take powerful steps in the right directions, right? And so ultimately, it's really about just standing in your power in the process.
I love this conversation because when I was growing up, I remember, so my parents got married, divorced, married, and then divorced again, right? But when I was growing up, I remember my mom, this probably was the first time they were divorced. So my mom, she's at the table writing her checks out. And I'm like, why are you writing checks? What is it? I go, what is that? And she goes, these are checks. And I was like, well, why are you writing that? And how do you do it? And she's like, you don't need to know about this right now. And then I remember asking her, like, I wasn't being disrespectful. I just wanted to know, right? And so I asked her, I'm the oldest, so I asked her about how much money she makes. She worked in the electronics industry in Silicon Valley, and it was, still in the Cold War stuff. So they were producing products left and right for the technology at that time. And so she said what she made was none of my business. And when she goes to the bank, I am not to ask any questions like that. It's none of my business. And so I was like, okay, little kids, you don't want to get backslapped for asking too many questions. And I was always getting backslapped anyway. So I was like, okay. But the thing about it was when I got my first job, I didn't know what to do with my money. It was a little check. I'm making, $2.25 an hour or whatever. But, I was like 15 years old. I didn't know what to do with my money. And I went to college at 16 to San Diego State University. And I had to figure it all out on my own. So this leads into my next question about when do you all think it's the best time for women in this day and age with our financial climate, our political climate, everything that's happening around us that involves us and doesn't involve us directly? When do you think it's the best age to start teaching daughters, granddaughters, nieces, little cousins about managing money and really begin giving them some wisdom at a young age about money in their first experience with finance? Coach Shauntel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thought is just to kind of go back with your last question about the power of financial literacy. This explains the knowledge about money. And once you understand the knowledge about money, this is where you can transform lives. It builds confidence, independence, and opportunities. So you talk about at what age, the age that they understand money, the age that they are able to understand ABC 1, 2, 3. Once you know the value of $1, you just can never go back. And I think that that's what, if you have that instilled at a young age, that's what gives you a higher acclimate and a higher literacy rate compared to others who know about it when maybe they're in the 4th, 5th grade, or even when they're in high school. Once you start to talk to a child, they're like a sponge.
Yeah.
If you notice, when you talk to a child, they'll never reject anything you say. They may ask why, but they're not going to reject anything. And if you start to instill these values in them at an early age, they'll be able to make great business decisions, and then they'll be able to map out their network. So now they have different individuals within their network where if they don't know the answers, they know who to call for those answers, so that they can always be strategically placed in the best position.
I love it. You know what? We have to take another break, but we'll be back. Stay tuned for more of the Bold Unstoppable show as we talk about financial literacy for women. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable show. We're here talking about financial literacy. This is Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, and I was just asking the ladies about what age do they think is a good age to start teaching our young ladies, or the young ladies in our lives, about financial literacy. I have this story to share. So my daughter, she's my youngest, and she's got 3 brothers. When she was 4, we moved into a new house, and they were doing construction all around, and she was like, "Oh, you know what, Mom? This is a great opportunity for me to have a lemonade stand, because I can make the lemonade and sell it to all these construction guys." And she's 4, and I'm like, okay. So we go to the store, pick up this stuff in the lemonade. We make the lemonade. She's selling this lemonade out. Like, we living in Tracy, California, and it's hot as heck in the summertime, and she's selling this lemonade out, right? But what was funny to me was, when she got her money, she looked at me, she said, "This is for my profit, and this is how much I need to buy more products. I need 4 more lemons, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, I was bewildered and really like amazed, because I didn't think I taught her anything about that. But it's like, be careful what you show your kids, because they're like sponges, and they observe everything. And so I'll share how she figured out all of that at the age of 4. But it was really interesting. And so my thing is, I don't think any age is too young. When they start learning about a quarter or a dime, a nickel, penny, whatever, it's time to teach them about money. And, you can keep it basic and simple, but the sooner we start, the better it is as we progress with our girls and going into young adult and, adults and getting their families and stuff, that they're able to understand the power that they have when they know how to manage their own finances. So my next question, ladies, is, what are some of the biggest money myths holding women back? Kelle, why don't you tell us, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, so I think one of the biggest money myths for women is that there is this sense that we have instilled in us culturally that we are the bottom of our own priority list and everyone else should come first. And as a result, we tend to not spend on our own development. We will give it away to everybody else. Be like, "Oh no, this person needs this and that person needs that." And then we end up under earning. And, part of that is misogyny. Let's just say that real clear. But, part of it is that we don't advocate for ourselves. They actually have shown that, especially if you're in a job, that women don't negotiate their income as well as men do. And that's because we're taught there's a social contract that we do not rock the boat. We do not push. We do not make people uncomfortable. And the negotiations is just like, "Oh, we're not supposed to get a big head and think that we're worth more." Whereas, and they've actually done studies, and women, if they don't have every single job skill that's listed on the job, they will not apply. Whereas men, if they have like 20%, they'll apply.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a difference in the way that we're conditioned. And so I think that really impacts our money a lot.
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting observation, because when I sit back, and I'm sure when we sit back and we think about it, it's like, oh, wow. Yep. That's true. I know there's several times when I was, an employee, I wouldn't negotiate. They told me whatever. I'm like, okay, I thought that was good. Where nowadays, back to the daughter, when she has a job and she's going out for it, she negotiates her salary, she negotiates a signing bonus. You know, that's something I would have never ever thought to do. I would have been just happy they give me a job and, you know, I'm making a decent wage. So it's really interesting how we think about things as a gender and how we're wired, but we all know we can change that. So now I want to ask this question to you all, ladies. When you think of the word rich, you know, how does that look to you and why does it look that way? And I'm going to go with you, Robin Denise. When you think about the word rich, how does that look to you and why does it look that way?
Well, when I see the word rich, I like to put the word en before that, enrich. So I'm rich as I enrich others or others enrich me. It's the enrichment. It's not always monetary. It's not always maybe financial gain, but what lessons have I learned? What do I know? I'm rich. Some would say people are we're by our friendship, by our friends. How many friends we have? We're said to be rich. So there's so many levels of being rich, but I kind of like want to echo what one of the ladies said about, I think, creating that entrepreneurial spirit, even as a young person, your daughter, these young people. I had a little cousin one time to ask me, not for money, but what was, could I send her something on her Cash App? And she was like, only like about 3 or 4. I'm like, what do you know about Cash App? So that's the perfect age. So, and her response was, I just need to stack some money. I'm like, oh, okay. So I think, developing that enrichment, learning aspects, that's what makes us rich. It's not always a wealth of maybe financial gain, but a wealth of knowledge that also makes us rich.
I love it. Okay. Coach Shauntel, when you hear the word rich, what is your vision of rich and why?
When I hear the word rich, that makes me think about just the legacy that I am creating for my family and then for generations after that. When I think of rich, it's more than me. It's about me building up my community. It's about me holding up the ranks for them, where now I'm able to empower them with better technology, better books, better after school meals. It goes just not about me, because my mission is bigger than just me. I think if my mission was just me, I wouldn't have the momentum to go the furthest that I'm able to go. So when I think of rich, I kind of challenge that. And my nieces, they do a really good job. I remember this guy, he came up to us and he asked us if we had change for 100. And my niece said that was change. And I said, oh, wow. I need to stop.
Hey, girl, somebody brought like, that's good. You know what? We got to take a break real quick, but we'll be right back. We'll be right back to the Bold Unstoppable Show.
That was classic.
Okay, welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable Show. That was great. I love that. It's changed. Well, I love that. I mean, I really do. Now, Kelly, what when you think about rich?
So for me, rich, I live in Panama, where the native tongue is Spanish. And so for me, rich, I translate into Spanish. It's que rico, right? It's how rich, how amazing, how luscious, how beautiful, how yum, right? It's a yum factor, right? And for me, it's that yum factor combined with freedom to do whatever I want whenever I want.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so now I'm going to throw this one to you, ladies. When you think about the word wealthy, how does that look to you and why? And so we'll just start with you, Kelly. When you think about the word wealthy, how does that look to you? Why?
Yeah, so wealthy is, oddly, wealthy for me is more money related. And it feels more like having that, as Coach Shauntel has been talking about, is having that generational wealth, right? It's the wealthy is I have the resources to pass it forward to other generations and to bestow gifts in I don't have any kids. So I'm like, I'd be bestowing gifts to charity, leaving money for my husband because he is 14 years younger. Yes, ladies, I do recommend. And, and so, making sure that all of that is covered and being able to be a philanthropist, right?
Yeah. I love it. Robin Denise, what does the word wealthy mean to you and why?
Sure. I think it means wealthy means, to me, it means influence. I think it means ownership. And I think it does mean abundance. And again, it's not always about monetary gain, but I think it's having access, because a lot of people may not have, it may look like they are wealthy by what we think, but it's that they have the access, they have the right network, and they have, the right network, knowing how to connect. So if I have a wealth of friends or a wealth of knowledge, then I am wealthy.
Oh, I love it. Okay. All right. Well, now we have some ideals of what the ladies think about when it comes to the words rich and wealthy. So now I want to ask you ladies this. Where do we start learning about financial freedom? How do we start as, I want you to talk to someone out there that you personally know that has no idea about financial freedom, and they're not even, you know what I'm saying? So how do we start learning about financial freedom? Coach Shauntel, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, when I start to talk to people about financial freedom, what I want to do is I kind of want to go backwards and then forwards. I want to see how they perceived it coming up as a child, because however our parents perceive that, we kind of mirror that image. And if they don't really have the best image with it, then I want them to reframe that image so that they do have a positive influence, so that they are able to reframe it where it's positive, where they have a good feeling about it. Because sometimes, like you do talk about rich and wealth, these feelings start to just come up inside of us. Feelings like I'm not good enough for that, or I'm not educated enough, or that could never be me. So once I start to reframe those images and then I do start to talk about it, I want them to be comfortable about it. I want them to actually see themselves acquiring this wealth. I want them to be able to have this burning desire towards where the desire now will get them to their goals. And we all have goals, but I want that to be a desire, not just for them, but for other people. So really starting to have that conversation so that we're sending good signals to ourselves, so that once we believe it here, then we can believe it once we go out into the world.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Robin Denise, let me ask you the same thing. When do you think is the perfect time for us to start learning about financial freedom?
Right. Excuse me, to echo a little bit of what Coach Shauntel said and what I said earlier, because, nowadays the generation, I'm not sure if they're beta or whatever, but they already know about money, but maybe not in the proper way. And as I did coming up, I did not have an example of how to money, so to speak. I didn't know what 401ks were. I didn't know what any of these banking terms meant. I didn't know any of that because my family didn't know. They knew about making money, but like savings and all that, that wasn't a thing. And that's no shade on them, because I love them for what I did learn.
Right.
But we have not always had great examples. So I think being exemplary, and having these conversations with generations, and debunking myth that it's okay to be wealthy, it's okay to make money, but let's have conversations around how to make money in a decent way, and I think debunking myths on all aspects is very important. But I don't think there is a restrictive age to talk about financial literacy at all.
I love it. So I'll go back to the baby, my baby child. So when I asked her, I'm like, how did you learn about buying products? She said, I listen to you and Daddy all the time. You guys are always arguing in the office about spending too much money on the products and how you need to make this much money in order to have profits. And she goes, I don't know what that is. All I know is that if you have profits, you have more money in your pocket. And I was like, oh, okay. So, it's like, of course, be careful what you say, right? And be mindful of what your children hear. But it was like, I didn't even know that. So for me, with financial freedom and literacy and all of that, I didn't learn any of that from any family members. I actually had to go out on my own and learn it. And I wanted to be so good. So here I am, I'm 21 and a half, 22, 23 years old. I have a business. My business is, our co-founder with my ex-husband, is taking off. It's doing amazing. We've got, very high, corporate, major corporations are doing business with us. So we're making money. Well, nobody told me how to, handle money like that coming in, and so I would look at my friends that were in unscrupulous businesses usually, and I would ask the guys like, how do you, and I learned some of the terminology from them. But one thing I discovered when I was in my late 20s was I wanted to not have money for right now. I didn't want to have the Mercedes and drive the Mercedes right now. And then 10 years later, I'm broke and I'm in a Volkswagen or whatever, or catching the bus, right? I wanted to have money that sustained me for the rest of my life. And so I took I don't know if you, Kelly, you might remember this. Remember the Beardstown ladies? Do you remember the Beardstown ladies? There were these elderly ladies that started an investment club, and they started making investments and learning how to do stocks and stuff, and they made a lot of money. So then it's just popped up. This was in the early mid 90s, just popped up. So I took my kids with me to one of these meetings that was holding on, and I joined an investment club. And that I was maybe 31. That was how I learned about investing and financial, because the ladies that was in my particular group, they were all in their late 50s, early 60s, and they worked for Lawrence Livermore Lab, and they were about to retire. So they were serious about making money, right? And the oldest lady in the group was 84 years old, and they weren't playing. So I was like the baby, I was like the granddaughter. I had to be involved to learn the terminology and the aspects of investing so that I could learn how to have that wealth, not today, but for the rest of my life. And so I think it's really important. And like I said, I would take my kids with me, but I didn't have no babysitter. I'd take them with me, and they'd have to sit there and I'd have them take notes or whatever. But I think that helped them to understand as they grew older about money, and they were way more smarter and educated than I was when I started out. But I think it's never too early. Never, ever, ever, ever too early to teach our children about managing their money and having financial literacy and wealth. Don't wait till like I did when I'm in my 30s and I'm having to find out that I really don't know about it and I need to learn about it, or else I'm going to end up broke. Now, ladies, when it comes to our society, how do societal expectations impact the choices that women make financially? And I'm going to hold tight, because we got to take a break, but I'll come right back and we'll dive into that conversation about that question. Be right back.
I would love to answer that last question, just so you know. Not the one you just asked, but the other one.
We're back to the Bold Unstoppable Show. And Kelly, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yeah, so I wanted to answer the question before the one that we were just about to do, because I have such a passion about this. You asked where we should start learning. And I think it is so crucial to learn about what you're doing currently. So if your job is doing a 401k, you need to understand how that works. If you have credit card debt, you need to understand how credit card debt works. You need to understand that you can cycle your credit card debt onto a zero interest credit card and save yourself a lot of money. You need to understand how to deal with if you're getting behind on your payments, you need to understand how to do that well, because there are ways to do it and there are ways not to do it. And, if you're going to have to be late on something that does not report to your credit report, right? That sort of stuff. And that means understanding your credit report. I had a conversation with a client yesterday she's like, I'm going through, I'm going to go to a credit counseling thing. And then she mentioned she had a mortgage. And I was like, how much equity do you have in your house? And she was like, oh, well, I've got like this much. It was like 40% equity in her house. I'm like, why would you ever go through credit counseling and screw up your credit report when you could just go get a home equity line of credit or refinance your house and take that money out and then pay it off? And she was like, I didn't even realize I could do that, right? These are the things you need to be conscious of, because you will, you go to the credit bureau and they're going to, the credit correction agency, and they're going to tell you, oh yeah, you have to let everything go behind because it's in their interest. That's how they get paid, right? They're not going to say, oh, this is the best thing for you,
Right.
and like I did for her, because I had zero interest in what happened, except that I wanted her to be good, be well, right? And so, that's the sort of thing. You need to learn about what you're currently in first, and then you can learn about other things. But don't go looking for pie in the sky stocks and Bitcoin and all this other stuff if you do not understand the basics of how your financial world works right now.
I love that. Thank you. Very wise advice. I really like that, because you also shared some information about things that people can do to actually help them in their financial situations and actually improve their financial status. So thank you, Kelle, for sharing that. Now I'm going to go back to this question with regards to how societal expectations have impacted the choices that women make financially. Robin, Denise, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, women have always taken and had the load so heavy, whether it's with family, financial issues. We've always taken the load in the game, but without pay. And which brings up the whole conversation around emotional labor. Women are always expected to do more, but we get paid less. And that's almost in any category. We're paid less, but we do more. We take on the emotions of people, of organizations, of businesses, but again, we're paid less. So we have to find ways how to not allow other people to devalue us.
I love it. Okay. What about you, Shauntel? What do you think? What do you think about the societal expectations and how they've impacted women with our financial choices?
I think that is really interesting because now you have so many more women in the workforce than ever. And you have to think about it. The real work usually happens when you get home. It's not the work from your 9 to 5. It's the work from when you get home. So if we're able to balance and manage our homes going to work, it's almost like that's easy for us. But sometimes people look at it like, well, they're not able to make the right type of risk, or they're thinking emotionally with these items and with these initiatives. But that's not necessarily true. But the thing that is interesting is that now we're starting to see the value of EQ. You have to think about it. When we went to school, we all were tested on IQ. They never had an EQ test. So now if they're saying that we're too emotional, well, guess what? We can use that to our advantage, because now we have these EQ skills. And with these EQ skills, now we're able to retain top talent. We're able to reduce turnover rates. We're able to keep up that employee engagement rate. So with all of those things being said, then we should be able to be some of the top earners within our spectrum, within our communities, in the industries. We should be a practice that should be modeled across different trends and different scopes in the industry.
Fabulous. I love it. Ladies, I want to ask this question, like taking that a little bit further. So what do you know that's out there in the society that actually will help women that are listening to us and, wondering, okay, yeah, I'm somewhere. I want to learn more about investing. I want to learn how to make smart investments. I want to learn how to maximize my 401k, or if my company has a pension and want to maximize that. What do I need to do? I want to learn about investing in stocks and bonds. What's out there where women can learn about these skills that will not only set them up for today, but set them up for their future when it comes to their financial well-being? Kelle, I'll just share that one with you.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to say is be careful where you get your information from, because the internet is where everybody's going to go. And there are so many quick get rich quick schemes and things like that out there. Do not, if somebody says you can make 50% return or 100% return in, very short period of time, that is a get rich quick scheme. Okay. I just want to be really clear. Now, there are things out there that have better returns than others, but go to the reputable sites, right? Go to the sites that are well-known financial sites to learn the basics, right? Now, if you're thinking, oh, I want to get into day trading or Forex or stuff like that, those are very high risk things. What you have to understand first is risk versus reward, right? High risk is high reward, but it's also a chance of no reward. It's also a chance of losing everything you put in, right? So if you're getting started, you want to start, usually the rule of thumb is to start with the S&P 500, right? But right now, everybody's getting out of stocks and bonds right now because the market is just crashing like mad. And so, there's alternative investments and things like that. But if you watch Warren Buffett, he's usually the bellwether that everybody follows, right? And then the financial papers, you do the Wall Street Journal and Forbes and, things like that. They'll start to talk to you about these things, but stay away from the little individual creators is what I'm going to say, because you don't know how much they know. And if you don't know anything, you don't want to follow somebody that you don't know how much they know.
Love it. Okay, we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we're going to continue our conversation here on the Bold Unstoppable show about women in financial literacy and financial freedom. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Bold Unstoppable show. And we are lighting it up when it comes to this topic. I think it's a very important topic. And as we have discussed already, it's never too early to start teaching our young ladies about managing their money that leads to financial wealth. Don't go and follow the trend if you don't know anything about the trend, such as the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency and all that kind of stuff, because you can lose a lot of money. Do some research. There's a lot of places where you can get research to learn about, simple things as simple as money market. Go to a bank and ask to speak to a banker, and they'll give you some information about, the different terminologies and what they mean when it comes to investing. And then, educate yourself like Forbes. I have a subscription to Forbes, and I've had it for a very long time. I may not read it every day, or I may not read it all every day, but I do read parts of it that, really shout out to me. And I get some wealth of information, not just about money, but just about business and showing up as the queen that I want to show up as, like all we do, right? So it's really important that you choose solid sources for your information, and don't rely on Bubba down the street that's in cryptocurrency and he's killing it, but he don't really know why, and he can't explain to you why, and he just, or he's telling you he's killing it. Don't rely on Bubba, don't find out about it and educate yourself, because, you could be investing in something that is a sinkhole, so to speak. They get your money and then they disappear and you've left in debt. So, all righty. So my next question is, when it comes to, and this is particularly like in investing in the stocks and bonds, like, we know about, saving money, putting them in different various accounts. I don't know if a lot of people, ladies, know about, particular insurance policies you should have, particularly I'm going to say if you're 45 or particular types of insurance policies you should have that actually will benefit your beneficiaries upon your demise, or that can help you when it comes to critical medical incident that might occur in your life. And, we all know healthcare is very expensive. If you don't have the right healthcare and health options in place for yourself, you can go broke and lose your house and all kind of stuff. So it's important to know a little bit about all of this stuff. And of course, you can always reach out to financial advisors at some of these companies just to get education. But ladies, what would you suggest are some very simple steps that women today that are listening to us, as soon as we end the show today, they can do to begin to build wealth? And let me start with you, Robin Denise.
Yeah, there's so many things to do, but I think the first, and I'm kind of repeating myself, is to first place value on yourself, whatever it, and I have to do this myself, whatever it is that you do, know that it's worthwhile, that somebody else needs your service, but allow them to always to put value on what you have as well. And I think, educating yourself, kind of like what Kelle said, be very careful of not connecting with the wrong source. I myself have been trying to learn about stocks, Bitcoins, and it is crashing. And they said beforehand, "Oh, this is going to be wonderful come January 1." Well, no, the little money that I invested, it's going down. So but like what already been said, I think wise picking wise teachers and making wise choices, but the number one thing for me is placing that value on yourself first, knowing that you are worthy to be a successful and financial free woman.
Love it. Brings to mind, if you don't have Louis Vuitton shoe money, don't go buy Louis Vuitton shoes and put it on your credit card. It's okay to go to Just Fab or Shoe Dazzle, and they're not sponsored, but hopefully we can get them sponsored for the show. But it's just okay to go get you some shoes that look cute and don't have to be the namesake. People don't care what kind of shoes you have on. They don't care if they're red bottoms or tan bottoms. If they're cute, right? But they know if they're red bottoms, you paid a whole lot of money for them. And for my information, they're not the most comfortable shoes, but the shoes you may have got at, Macy's or somewhere that you didn't pay an arm and leg for are just as nice and they're comfortable. So I'm going to say, don't be a fool and spend your money to try and buy things to impress other people, because in the long run, you will be broke. Make sound investments. Real estate is always a good investment, and you don't have to do it by yourself. There's ways and people that you can hook up with where you can go into joint partnerships that are legal and really profitable, where you can do really well in real estate, as well as investing in stocks and bonds. But you got to educate yourself. In the first place, you need to do that is do some research and see what fits your vision and your goals. The other thing is you got to have a vision of what you want. Because if you don't have a vision, then you can't have a mission to make that vision a reality. And you can't create the goals and objectives to make the mission and the vision a reality. And so you'll go spinning around and spinning around and spinning around and wondering why you haven't got to where you want to be. But you don't really know where you want to be because you don't have a mission and a vision to help you target to get to that place. So just a little bit of words of wisdom, what we like to do here on the Bold Unstoppable Show. Okay, ladies, coming down to the wire now. This question is about mentoring young ladies, I want to say in the high school age range, and teaching them about financial literacy. How many of you think that we should have programs in these high schools nowadays that help these young ladies, find mentors that help these young ladies who come into the schools to educate the young ladies and the young men as well about financial literacy? So when they go off out of high school, whether to college, work, or whatever, they're a little bit more educated about how to manage their money or how to acquire money that they need to get to where they want to be to create financial well-being. Who wants to take that? Coach Shauntel, and then we'll go to you, Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that this should definitely be a program that is instilled in them as soon as they get to high school. I think that there should be step 1, step 2, step 3. So by the time that they do graduate, they have those 3 pillars to ensure their success, that they're also able to start to map out a network. It's great to have friends, but you should start to have business associates by the time you go to college. I think that that's really cool, because then as you guys are learning and growing, you can have somebody who's in this wheelhouse, that wheelhouse, and then that wheelhouse. And that way your network is very strong. So by the time you finish up with college, now you have a core group and you guys can be able to support each other. You don't have to know everything yourself, but if you have those connections in your phone, that will be something that you can always leverage to. And you talk about the vision. I talk about people galvanizing that vision. How can we galvanize the vision? That's why knowing where our North Star is and having that factor that's always going to be able to guide us there. And if you have a good, strong network, you're going to be able to hit your targets and your goals and multiply that by some.
I love it. Kelly, your thoughts?
I am a big fan of doing literacy early. I learned about finances from my social studies teacher in junior high. My mother never talked about it. My father, who was a CPA, I didn't see him very often because mom was a single parent, but he never talked about it. But my social studies teacher said, this isn't in the curriculum. I think it has to be. I'm going to do it for you. We're going to spend 2 days learning how to do this. And we learned how to balance a checkbook and write checks and things like that. It was how I learned how to do it. And I highly support the idea that this would happen in high school or earlier. And it's crucially important because I think that people need to question whether or not their kids need to go to college. Because for a vast majority of jobs, you should not be going to college. The debt you're going to put yourself into is going to put you upside down financially for decades of your life. It is going to severely impact your ability to do anything, to purchase a home, to build that generational wealth. You know, if you're not doing something that is in the hard sciences, that requires a degree of some kind that you know, or you can't move forward, then you shouldn't be going to college. That is just, there's so many better ways and cheaper ways to get better information. I work online, so I do a lot of online marketing. Anything you're going to learn in college is going to be 3 years behind the curve. Because these are people who are educators. They're not doers. They're not in the market right now. They're reporting on what's been written books about. And those books are 18 months out of date by the time they get published. So, yeah.
I agree. You know, great last words, because it's so very important. Unfortunately, we're at our time, but I think it's important. I just want to say, I do remember when I was in high school, there were classes for bookkeeping and accounting. And they don't have, heck, I took a shorthand class that actually got me a job where I made my first what I thought was a lot of money, but they don't have those classes today. And so I think it's very important. I want to thank you, ladies, because I think this is a very important topic and it needs to be discussed more. And we need to start discussing it at an earlier age with our children, and particularly our girls. So thank you for being with me today. And as we close, I want to say to all of you listening and watching, money is a tool, and it's time to use it to build the life and the legacy that you deserve. Take control of your financial destiny. And I don't mean later or 10 years down the line or when you get close to retirement. You got to take care of it starting today. Financial freedom starts with action. But most importantly, it starts when you take the initiative to become knowledgeable about your financial choices. And in the long term of things, it will really, really help you as you begin to age. You may be young and thinking, oh, my retirement time is off for a long time, but that time goes by quickly. And there's so many people that end up broke because they didn't make the correct decisions when it came to investing their money while they were making a lot of money. And lastly, I want to thank all of you for watching and listening to us. And if you love the show, please subscribe to the show, share it with other fabulous ladies and gentlemen, because we do have guys on the show every now and then, but share this show, because the more we can get information like what we're talking about today out in the masses, the better it will be for our future female generations. Until next time, this is Rochel Marie Lawson, or Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, and my guest, Coach Shauntel, Robin Denise Harris, and Kelle Sparta. We were representing the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, and the South country, but Southern below us. And so until next time, everybody, have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day. Goodbye for now.